All right, let's just dive right into this explainer on Google Antigravity. So this is the revolutionary new IDE that dropped in early 2026, and it is actively trying to completely rewrite the rulebook on how we build software. Now, if you've been following the AI coding space, you know there is a ton of noise out there right now. But today, we're cutting through all of that. We're going to look at the actual source material, the official documentation, and some real-world user feedback to see exactly what Google is trying to pull off here.
We've got a lot of ground to cover today to really understand this tool. We'll start with the agent-first paradigm, look at a real app built from prod to production, peek under the hood of the anti-gravity engine, explore the really weird internet history behind its name, and finally do a much-needed reality check on its actual limits.
Okay, starting off with Section 1, the agent-first paradigm, because this is a massive departure from the coding tools we've all gotten used to over the last couple of years.
Think about the traditional AI assistant setup we're all familiar with. You, the human developer, are essentially the code producer, right? You're writing line by line, while the AI just hovers there giving you autocomplete suggestions. But the agent-first approach completely flips the script. Instead of just suggesting code, the AI agent plans, writes, and tests the code completely autonomously across the editor and the browser. We're literally moving from a world where developers produce the code to a world where they orchestrate tasks. You tell the agent what to build, and it figures out the how.
Now, the big buzzword you're going to hear in their documentation is supervised autonomy. Basically, the AI is doing the heavy lifting, but you are absolutely still the boss. The system proposes a plan, but it relies on you being the human in the loop for a critical review and final approval. It's kind of like managing a really fast, highly capable junior developer who's sitting right inside your editor, just waiting for your final thumbs up before they merge anything.
All right, moving into Section 2, from prompt to production. Theory is great and all, but let's talk about how this actually looks when you're building real-world applications without writing traditional code.
There's this fantastic YouTube tutorial by a creator named Mikey No Code that really shows off what this thing can do. In the video, he has anti-gravity autonomously spin up an entire React Native fitness application. And we're not talking about some basic, static Hello World page. Using just plain English prompts, the agent built a complex app with a workout tracker, a history log, a customizable timer, and a fully interactive dashboard that actually syncs all the data.
And to put the commercial potential of this into perspective, Mikey points out that apps using this exact same structural blueprint are pulling in upwards of $500,000 a month in revenue on the App Store. $500,000. It is a total game changer for lowering the barrier to entry when it comes to shipping highly lucrative software.
But listen, it's not just for indie hackers trying to spin up fitness apps. If you look at structured tutorials on Coursera, for example, they demonstrate the agent tackling serious, enterprise-level tasks. In one masterclass, instructors have the agent generate complex logic for a calendar app, refactor massive components on its own, and get this, it even writes its own comprehensive test suites using the Vitess framework. So it's doing the rigorous, unglamorous engineering work too. So how is it actually pulling this off? Let's get into Section 3, inside the anti-gravity engine. Because to really master a tool like this, you kind of have to understand how it thinks.
The secret sauce here is something Google calls the Agentic loop. It's this three-step workflow. Step 1 is planning, where it generates a technical roadmap. Step 2 is execution, where it actively writes the code and, yeah, it runs its own terminal commands. But Step 3 is the craziest part, verification. Antigravity uses a built-in browser subagent to literally open up a web browser, navigate through the UI it just built, and visually verify its own work. It even takes screenshots to prove to you that it's working. Wild, right?
Now, you might be wondering, doesn't this just feel like a massive black box? Well, to keep you in the loop, the agent generates what they call artifacts. These are permanent, version-controlled markdown files that documents its entire thought process. It gives you a task checklist, a detailed implementation plan before it writes a single line of code, and a post-completion walkthrough. It is a brilliant way to ensure you always have a readable record of what the AI decided to do and why it did it.
And you also get to pick the brain running the whole operation, which is awesome because it's a multi-model environment. You aren't boxed into just one AI. You can run Google's Gemini 3.1 Pro for complex reasoning, and that has a massive 2 million token context window, by the way. Or you can switch over to Gemini Flash for lightning-fast, simple edits. You can even bring in Anthropic's Claude Sonnet 4.6 if you need some precise, alternative reasoning. You just swap them out based on what you need.
Okay, let's take a really quick, fun detour for Section 4, the secret behind the name, because Google product names rarely happen by accident. And this one has some deep internet lore attached to it. The name anti-gravity is actually this brilliant, layered inside joke.
Back in 2008, Python 3.0 shipped with a hidden Easter egg module literally called import antigravity. Then in 2009, you had that viral Google Gravity browser trick by Mr. Doob, where the search page just falls apart. Fast forward to 2025, and Google drops $2.4 billion to acquire the team behind the Windsurf IDE, a name all about defying gravity. And all of that history just collided to give us the 2026 launch of the Antigravity IDE.
And as a super cool nod to Python developers, they actually kept that original 2008 Easter egg alive right inside the IDE. If you type import anti-gravity directly into the editor, it still opens up the legendary XKCD comic number 353 in your browser. It's just a playful way of saying the whole goal of this tool is to make programming feel as effortless and weightless as flying.
But, all right, Section 5, Reality Check and Limits. We really have to ask the hard question here. Does the actual reality of using antigravity live up to this magical, frictionless promise? Let's step away from the polished marketing and see what real devs are dealing with in the trenches.
If we look impartially at community feedback on places like Reddit, it is a very polarized landscape. For a lot of early adopters, the hype is crashing hard into reality. We're seeing a ton of reports about significant friction, things like severe token usage limits, frustrating AI hallucinations where the model just totally loses the plot of the project, and even 7-day account lockouts after just a couple of 5-hour coding sessions. And that's even for people paying for the Pro plan.
Just to give you an idea, one highly upvoted comment really captures the vibe of the frustrated camp. This user basically said, the Gemini Flash model felt completely brain dead. They said it wasn't reading the surrounding context, it was spitting out incomplete code, and then it immediately hit max usage, leaving them with way more bugs than they started with. When this system fails, it can fail spectacularly, and you're left untangling a huge mess. But then, on the flip side, you have veteran developers fiercely defending the platform. You'll see users with 18+ years of software engineering experience pointing out that the tool works perfectly fine for them. The takeaway from this side of the community is that if you actually have the underlying knowledge to properly architect the software and rigidly supervise the AI, anti-gravity is an undeniable force multiplier. It's incredibly powerful, but you have to know how to steer the ship.
So, what are the community survival tactics if you want to use this thing? Well, successful users agree. You have to rely heavily on Git version control, so you can easily hit undo on any AI chaos. You absolutely must break large projects down into micro-sized tasks. A lot of people are using a dual model flow, having Gemini Flash quickly write the code and then bringing in Claude to thoroughly review it. And above all else, you have to write incredibly strict architectural plans before you let the agent execute a single thing.
So I want to leave you with this final thought as we wrap up this explainer. As we plunge headfirst into this brand new agent-first era, are we truly being freed from the weight of coding? Or are we simply trading syntax errors for the entirely new and maybe much more complex challenge of managing autonomous AI? It's a huge shift, and I definitely recommend diving into the source material to explore it for yourself. Thanks for hanging out with us for this explainer.